you all are still here or joining us. Hi, Jill. Good to see you. I'm glad you joined us for Iguanas. Iguanas from above. And I'll go ahead and switch my screen so you can see us. Hey, Bob. Awesome. All right, so this is another one where I might be leaving it to you all because we also have Amy potentially joining us in a little while. Amy McLeod, who's the is the project leader. And so when she joins, we'll be able to say hello to her too. Oh, you're all blurry, Bob. How'd that happen? Oh, there we go. That's so weird. Your fancy camera focusing. Okay, so when you get started, just so I can start every time talking about this, SciStarter is full of all kinds of projects, and in order to get us up to the 1 million point, we're trying to track everything that the SciStarter community does during this month. We're already past the halfway point, which is awesome, but we want to get as close to 1 million as possible as soon as possible to just see how much we can do. And so that said, if you have a SciStarter account, awesome. If you don't already, please have one because then we can keep track of your contributions this month even easier. So here's the step list for anyone who's just joining. So we have go on to SciStarter and then find the project. So I'm already on the project page. I use the quick navigate to get there. I just write iguanas and it pops up. Iguanas from above. It's usually going to be the first one. If it's not, you just have to kind of click around. For the next step, we have all the steps here for actually making sure that the contributions are counted, but I'll just go through them one more time. So we are going to visit the page. And on this page, we're on phase 4 as of this point, and I'm already logged in. So what I need to make sure is that I know what my Zooniverse username is because my Zooniverse username is needed in order to log the fact that I am participating. So I'm scrolling down the bottom of my settings and adding my Zooniverse username here. What that does is it makes sure that Zooniverse and SciStarter can talk to each other so we can make sure all those contributions that you do get also counted over on the SciStarter side. So then our lovely counter, which I'll show you where we're at right now, our lovely test tube counter is at 531,000. We're almost to 532,000, which is awesome. And so we'll see this rise. And the way we do that is to make sure that those affiliates are tracking. So that is why we add our username there. So thank you everyone for doing that. If you need help with doing that, by the way, I'm repeating it every once in a while, but feel free to ask in the chat and I can always reset it and send it or demonstrate it again. Okay. Cool. Okay, so we're doing iguanas from above for this hour. When Amy shows up, I'll introduce her and have her join. Bob, iguana lover. I love it. But for now, I do know how to do this project because it's super fun. I do enjoy doing it. And Roland and I have done this on SciStarter Live too. We did a little bit of it. So we are experts. And Bob, did you interview for iguanas from above, or is this the first time you're looking at it? Oh, you're muted. Yes, Jill. All the iguana pictures.
Not yet. I haven't interviewed them yet.
You have not done it yet. Okay, well, this will be fun then. So then we can get the right questions answered. Yeah, we'll make sure that we're saying the right things. Okay, so then stop me whenever if there's any questions that I'm skipping over in that case. Okay, so I'll go ahead and share my screen again. Awesome. Okay, so I'm on the iguanas page, and here it says phase 4. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to hit join in or classify. Oh yeah, join in means joining the talk, the conversation. I'm going to go ahead and hit classify. So right now, phase 4 iguas from Fernandina and Isabella have arrived. I have fun counting them. And then it has in Spanish too, for any of you who speak Spanish. I didn't know phase was a fase. Fase 4. Llegaron las iguanas de Fernandina e Isabella. Divertirte contándolos. Dolos. Oh, pronunciation is getting hard to do now. I gotta practice more. All right, so since I've done this, I'm gonna not breeze through this exactly, but give you the tutorial in a quick fashion, so then we can just get to it. So we'll be experts of it in no time. I love this one because you get to see all the cool pictures of places in the Galapagos. So big fan there. We need your help to know how many marine iguanas are living in the Galapagos. So we've, instead of deciding to stand on rock corners or from boats and try to look at these iguanas and count them by hand, essentially, instead of doing that, this project is essentially taking drones to the Galapagos and is taking aerial images to count them all instead of having them do it from a boat where it might be more difficult. So the idea is to prove that it is possible to use drones, and it will be either the same value or the same quality of count or even better. So with that in mind, and I think they're already on their way to to proving it, so that's really good news. Continuing, this is a group that taught me how to do the zigzag pattern. So when you are looking for the iguanas, you're going to follow a zigzag pattern of looking through the pictures in order to see if you can see any of their little faces or body shapes, and then it makes it a lot easier to see. And then, oh, actually, let me go back. So then you can see the actual body shape too. I'll zoom in, see if it makes it easier to see. Yeah, so the head, the arms, the body, the tail, the legs, the tail is probably the most recognizable bit. And so as you're going through, just be sure to look around and see if anything resembles the iguana shape. Okay, so here's what we're actually looking for. You will find different types. Oh, just kidding, there's a top part. Let me go back. All right, so it's showing us a little bit about what it looks like. So we're tapping on specific brains. They do want you to mark it on the head of the iguana, and that helps us for later. I think what they're doing for that, if I remember correctly, is that by marking on the head, they're training the machine to do it better, because if you're marking it in the same spot, that's what the machine will look for later. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. So when we do that, the iguanas from Isabella and Fernandina Islands are the biggest iguanas and most populated. So I hope we see a lot in here. And we are going to mark in each individual iguana too. Look at how many there are. You'll find different types. We've got adult males. They're bigger and they should be more colorful. Seems less obvious in these colonies apparently, so maybe they're not as colorful. You will see an aggregation of gray iguanas around a big colored male. That's what's called a lek. If your adult male has a lek, select the option for adult male in a lek. So that'll be an option over here. And then we also have adult male not in a lek if you're marking a male, but not in a group. Please mark the male only and give the others their own mark if it's in a lek. So only mark the male and then separately mark the others. Any other gray individuals belong to others, dark adult males, females, young males, and juvenile section. You will find below some of the examples of how different iguanas look from above. So adult male lek looks like this. We got the giant male right there. And then we've got others that are smaller right here. Okay, those look like also two males, giant ones, because these ones are a bit smaller. So size matters in this case. I'm trying to figure out who's who. Here we have one adult male in a lek and 10 others. So we've got a male who's got some other colors on here, like a reddish area. And then we've got some dark colors. They're smaller, or they're juvenile, as in even more small. But they're all over the place. And sometimes they're hard to see. Like this is a rock and they blend in pretty well. So we have to be careful. That's why it's nice to look for the shapes of the head and the tail. Over here, we've got one adult male in the lek and two others. So we have the male right here, and then I actually need to search for those. Oh, right there, and right there, we got two others. And then this colorful one is the adult male. And then we've got one male not in a lek, and then one other. So just not surrounded by a bunch of little dots of salamanders. This is just others. They're light gray-ish, and they're just that color. And then others, again, we've got some regular colored, nothing particularly colorful about those. Okay. If you find a tail or an iguana cut out within the image, select the option others, but you'll see an iguana cut by the side of the image. Please mark it with the option partial iguana. So there will be a partial if you need it. Partial red iguana, white head, because it's pulled out. Oh, and there's the tail. Yeah. Not partial iguana. This is an analysis mistake. So that's a bummer. It was cut out. But it's a good thing to know for later. Birds, where'd that come from? Extra. So we are not only looking for the iguanas, we do want to mark when we see the other things like algae, plants, birds, sea turtles, sea lions. It is really fun when you find sea lions because they look super fun. And they usually are swimming around. So if you see water, look a little bit closer to see if you can find any of the sea lions. I loved finding those. There's a ton of crabs, like a ton of them. And so you'll see these and you'll just mark them all and it'll be very helpful. Mark each individual in the head, but for algae and plants, just mark them one time. So you don't have to mark all over the picture, just once, which is definitely helpful for algae and plants since it'll be so much, right? And then we have birds too, occasionally, which is Kind of hard to see, honestly. But yeah, that's a bird. And then we've got a couple more examples. We've got sea turtles. I haven't found a sea turtle yet, but I look forward to when I do. And then algae will look like this, but you only mark it once, so that's easy. And then plants. Sometimes you'll see non-plants, like you'll see litter. We saw these in like the marine creatures one earlier today too. There will be litter on occasion. Oh, and here's the litter ones actually. Plastic objects. We'll mark it. Oh, there we go. If you see any, please mark all of them in the middle. It is obviously a bottle, mark it a bottle. If it is obviously a net or a rope, please mark fishing gear, bamboo sticks. If you see bamboo sticks, they shouldn't be there. So that's, they are some kind of plastic object or unknown litter. Other unknown plastic. If you wish to flag up an interesting plastic object, you can put on the message board. So similar to the rest, we of course have the done and talk button. And then plastic fishing gear looks like this. It's often blue or like a greeny color. Like it won't be a normal color for this. So that will make it hopefully a little bit easier. Okay, cool. That's a lot of stuff, but we can always come back to it. It took me a while to get used to it and I haven't done it in a minute. So this will take me a little bit to get used to it again. So on my screen, I'm looking at marine iguanas. I'm gonna zigzag really fast because I don't see anything immediately, but it is very helpful to do a zigzag. So looking through these rocks, nothing is very obviously an iguana. Bob and Roland, let me know if you see something that should be noted. Just a lot of sand. Starting out with a lame one, sad. All right, I see nothing. I don't even see any other animals here. This is a wasteland picture.
Do you zoom in on the rocks at all to see if there's anything there? No? I can't tell how big those rocks are, whether those are iguana-sized rocks or like boulder-sized rocks.
That's a good question. I don't know either. It'd be kind of nice to have like altitude listed. I don't think they let us
Yeah,
do
or
that.
scale.
It is a lot nicer though, actually. Sometimes inverting the colors. Oops. Uh-oh.
Oh,
My gosh. Okay, inverting the colors actually really helps sometimes. I'll do an example when we see an iguana, but the shape outline is way more obvious with the inverted colors, which is,
oh, yeah, check that.
yeah, which I think the darkness of the rocks isn't helping here, but I don't think there are any iguanas in this one. So do I see any? I'm gonna go with no. I'm going to next. Do I see anything else? No.
Rocks,
Um,
sand.
I think I just hit done and talk, but let me check. Do you see any other species or plastic? Non-plastic object? No, I don't. All right, done. Okay, so I'm still inverted. So I'm gonna go back to not inverted and look at it just like this first. Ooh, nice little, not tide pools type thing. Looks kind of like a tide pool. Over here, there might be something in the shadow. I'm gonna do the zigzag. Got some waves hitting. Oh, what about that? What's that? Let me invert the color just in case. Ah, I lost it. It was right here is what I was looking at. Okay. No, I don't think it's anything. All right, zoom back in. All right, we've got nothing over there. This could be something. I think it's too dark. But that could be something. Do we think that might be an iguana? Shape or not obvious enough?
Again, I wish we knew the size.
Hmm?
Oh, nothing. I can't. I wish we knew the size because that could be, 9
Well,
feet long and then obviously not an iguana, or it could be, 4 inches long and not an iguana.
yeah, I think most of them. So if I go back to the tutorial, seeing them, they're mostly at this like height.
Oh, okay.
And so I don't know the actual size per se, but they are like aerial view decently far enough where they have a big chunk of land. So I don't think any of
Okay.
it will be close up.
Okay.
Most part, some are way more obvious than others. Like these ones are particularly not obvious as far as I could tell.
Mm.
And some of them, I did have quite a few last time I played where they just aren't in there. Like there are some that just don't have any iguanas in them. Zigzagging again. I think we might be a no-go on this one, unless they're hiding in the shades of these rocks, but think we might be a no-go.
Just look away and see if they come out.
Look away. Maybe they'll look
Shy.
or just give my eyes a break so I can look at it freshly. That is the one thing about Zooniverse that you have to keep in mind is if you really love it, taking a break for your eyes will definitely help because sometimes you just look at it for too long and then you forget to blink and then your eyes hurt. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and say no. I don't see any. And I also don't see any plants or other animals. Oops, didn't mean to do that. But let me just check to make sure. We want to look for plants. I don't see any plants on these, just rocks. So we'll just go done. Done. Here we go. All right, what do you see? I see something that I'm not allowed to answer yet. What about iguanas? We'll look at iguanas first. Ooh, that's just a crab, unfortunately.
Oh.
Yeah, unless it's a very bright colored iguana, but I don't think so. I don't think those exist. All right, zigzagging time. Crab, crab, crab. Any iguanas? Looking through.
And the project leader is here.
Oh, hey.
Oh, yay.
Hi, Amy. Let me rename you. Amy. Oh, gosh. Is it MACLEAOD?
Still connecting.
Oh, okay.
Hi.
Hey.
Hello, there you are.
Sorry for the delay.
No, that's okay. I walked the general public, whoever's here with us, through what it means to be doing or I walked them through the tutorial. So I'm doing some examples, but we would love your input because some of these right now I'm getting like the first 3 ones are pretty hard in terms of if there are any iguanas in there. At least
Yeah.
find them. Have you been seeing like fewer iguanas in a lot of your images, or am I just unlucky for these first 3?
Yeah, in a lot of the images there are very few iguanas. That's sort of just the nature of the situation we're dealing with there. And then you'll find some images where there's loads, because the colonies are just very dense and then sparse, between them. But what's quite helpful here, like unfortunately, you see the focus is not super on this photo, which is sometimes the case, but it's actually quite zoomed in. So what you're seeing, the red things are these Sally Lightfoot crabs, and they're actually pretty small compared to the iguanas. So if you're seeing those, you're looking for something much bigger than that, maybe like
that is super helpful.
maybe 10 times the size or so. Yeah, so the Sally Lightfoot crabs are about as close as we get to having like a scale bar in the images, because otherwise it's sometimes really hard to know, what kind of size of the objects you're looking at are, because it's just the rock and that could be any kind of size. But yeah, the crabs are always a good yardstick for that. So I don't think there are any in this image, just looking quickly. So like what we would always do is like maybe zoom in and do this zigzag pattern across the screen. But for sure, we've got a bunch of crabs, so they can be marked. And it's still like, we think it's useful to mark the crabs because as far as we know, nobody's really doing counts for these guys. And we've seen with quite a few species that sometimes you don't actually know how many of a species are until they've suddenly disappeared. And so we think even like monitoring the crabs can be useful, and it's all data that we're collecting.
Definitely, yeah. I was bragging about the zigzag method to a couple of the other projects earlier today. I was like, we'll use the zigzag method. It's so much easier. So I'm very grateful you shared that with me.
Yeah, it's a great way to really sort of cover your bases, reduce the chances of missing something important, and not get so crazy in the process. It's like good to have a guideline.
Yeah. Question about algae or plants. Are this red area, is that a plant of some sort?
Yeah, I'd say that probably is the red algae, just growing. It doesn't get very long because they eat it basically. So it just looks like this sort of red fuzz. It would get a lot longer in places where there isn't any kind of herbivorous animals, but for sure when the iguanas are around, they're going to eat it. The crabs eat it too. So yeah, I'd say that's algae, even though it doesn't look like what you might expect typical algae to look like. It's this nice red algae that's actually very nutritious.
I thought it would be like algae that was not like it looks almost dried out. Like this is the green type that dries out red, but that's not what it is. It's just a different type. Got it.
Yeah, it is. It's a different type and it's quite high protein, so it's favored.
Nice. I like it. Apologies, I just made you jump into it. Do you want to give a quick introduction?
Yeah, so the project Iguanas from Above, it's been running for a few years. We first started fieldwork in early 2020, and we're sort of pioneering this new method of finding and counting marine iguanas because the old methods just weren't really up to the task. And the thing with the marine iguana is that it's an endemic species that's found only on the Galapagos Islands. It's not even being successfully kept in zoos. So if it's gone from the Galapagos, it's just gone. That's it. And even though it's one species across the whole of the archipelago, it is split into 11 subspecies, and each of those is different, like genetically and morphologically. And that means they should be conserved separately from each other. And in order to do that properly, we kind of need to know how many we have on the different islands, because most of these subspecies are only on one island. And so this is like information that we desperately need. And because they're across the whole archipelago in many really difficult to reach places, we're never able to get good estimates for most populations using the sort of traditional methods where you take a boat and you get off the boat and you walk and you count. So that's where the drones came in, and we've been pioneering a method of flying the drones from boats, so we don't even really need to get onto the islands in most cases. And then we take these photographs, and in many ways this is much better than the traditional methods, but the problem we have is just the data analysis, because we have these giant data sets and we're such a small team. We're mostly just 2 people really. So to get through all of this counting is, yeah, it's not realistic, just the 2 of us. And also it doesn't take a highly trained scientist to do this. Like, this is exactly where we can really use lots of people who just have a small amount of training, and they'll be just as good as us at counting them. And actually, we're working on a scientific paper right now where we've evaluated the first round of our Zooniverse project, and we found that the volunteers are pretty much as good as us at finding the iguanas, as long as the images are of decent quality. So that's a really exciting finding. And yeah, we hope it sort of justifies us in the future being able to use the counts that are directly from the Zooniverse project in the population size estimates that we will use them to write the red list reports to help inform conservation policies directly. So this is direct conservation that we're doing here.
Awesome. I'm so glad that it appears to be working like in full. The quality seems to be there, as long as the image is good quality too. So
yeah, I mean, it's actually sort of exceeded our hopes, to be honest, because we set a sort of bar for something like we wanted volunteers to be 85% similar to us, and then we would sort of figure out the correction that would be needed. But we found that they're more than 90% in a lot of cases. So we're really impressed with the data we've been getting. And this is just from, often anonymous Zooniverse volunteers. So it's really exciting to see what the crowdsourcing, data analysis, and the people power and the citizen science can do for a project like ours.
Sweet. Yeah, that's super
Great.
exciting. I'm surprised at I guess I'm not surprised, but there's a lot of anonymous people on there. I hope hearing this later, they should totally join so that we can count. How many volunteers see the same photo? Oh yeah, do you have like a quality threshold there?
Yeah, so that's another interesting thing we've just found out from this new analysis. So our standard is we show each image to 20 independent volunteers, and then we aggregate their answers to take account for each different image. And we found actually that if at least 5 people find a iguana out of those 20 in an image, that's accurate enough to know that for sure there's an iguana in there, and then we can take the aggregate from just those 5 people. So in the end, we're still showing it to 20 people because we sort of need that basis to get a very good aggregate, but it's possible that we could get a good enough answer with slightly less people, but at least we know that we don't need more. So that's
cool. Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, suddenly you have to send it to 50 people and see what happens.
Yeah, because it massively increases the size of your project. We had one round where we did it for 30 people had to see each project, and it actually didn't increase the accuracy. So now we know that's good. We can stick with 20. We could possibly do less. But yeah, this is still things we're figuring out. I mean, it's an interesting process in itself because citizen science is so new, and then validating it from a scientific perspective, that takes a bit of time and a bit of experimentation. So that's sort of been one of our goals of the project as well, to kind of understand the best way to use this approach.
Yeah. Are you working out of a laboratory or a university?
Yeah, we're based at the University of Leipzig. And yeah, so we're in Germany, and Germany oddly has quite a long history of Galapagos research. So I started at the University of Bielefeld, where I worked with a professor who'd been working out on the Galapagos for a few decades. He's famous more for working with the sea lions, but also worked with the marine iguana. And it's a bit of a heritage, how it passed along. And I did my PhD more using genetic methods. So this whole like subspecies story was more the focus of my PhD. But the thing I always came up against was just not having good population size estimates. That was like a stumbling stone for everything we wanted to do. So I was just looking for the best way to address that issue. And that's how we ended up with drones and now citizen science. And in the future, also machine learning will be another approach we're using.
Are you working with other researchers to sort of generalize this to do, because I could imagine it'd be useful for lots of population, also event related things, you know, that are very difficult to observe just from individual people.
Yeah, for sure. So on the images, like this kind of data that we're asking people to collect on sea lions and such, we're planning to share that with the particular scientists and researchers and conservationists that work on those species, because it's a lot of data. We don't need it directly ourselves, but we're very happy to share that with anybody who can make good use of it. And because it's a highly protected area and there are like genuine concerns about poaching and such, like we have to be really careful how we share that data, and everything has to be done in collaboration with the local authorities. But we do share the data. We're already collaborating with the data we've been accumulating on plastics. So there's the Galapagos Conservation Trust in the UK, and also the University of Exeter that's interested in how plastics are accumulating on the shorelines. And we see those in our images, and we're also collecting that data on Zooniverse. So we're passing that forward and seeing how this approach can, for instance, help directed cleanups on the Galapagos, and maybe to understand how the accumulation is happening and direct efforts to address that and maybe understand it. Also, there are some efforts to study the effect of these plastics on organisms. So maybe we can see where they're accumulating. And we see some things like evidence of illegal fishing. We pass that on to the authorities. And so anything useful we can get from the images, we're very keen to share that, because, you know, we're a community of scientists and conservationists out there with limited resources, and we're very keen to like facilitate anybody's work where we can, as you know, we all have the same kind of goal, which is to preserve the islands and the wildlife. And yeah.
And it could be used worldwide. It could be used anywhere, these methods.
Yeah, that too. Yeah. So we've been like each stage of the project, when we have findings that we think are going to be useful for a more wider readership, we will publish those. So we published last year just sort of validating the counting method. And we do think that this kind of way of counting from aerial images will be suitable for particular species like those that gather in the open, especially on shorelines with a large enough body size. I mean, that you need to fit a few criteria, but I think a lot of important conservation species will fit that criteria. So for sure, we're keen to share that. We're sharing our findings with the Zooniverse, how we process the data from the Zooniverse to get the best fit to our own expert findings. So that's what we're working on now. Next, we'll be publishing the protocols of how we fly the drones, what we've learned from that. So yeah, we're trying to share everything we can, whatever we feel like will be useful and applicable for others.
Well, it's sort of serendipitous, because just while we were talking, I was just emailing with our marine scientist in Florida, the Mote Marine Laboratory, and they're having a terrible problem. It was just in the New York Times today, with fish kills that are unexplained
Okay.
all over the Florida Keys. Excuse me, and especially sawfish, which are endangered, dying unexpectedly, and mass fish kills. And so I'm just working with them now to set up a mobile app so people can report them. But then while we were talking, it occurred to me, wow, maybe if they could fly drones down there, they could do a similar thing to maybe spot them faster than just waiting for people to report them. So I'm gonna get back to him.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, drones, they seem very good. We get very good images of rays and things like that are just below the surface. And they're way more visible from the drone than they are from a boat if you're right next to them, just because of the angle, I guess, that you're looking at. So yeah, I think they are very useful for those kind of stuff. And I know that they're being used for whale sharks a fair bit already in the Galapagos. I'm sure other places too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think drones are an incredible conservation tool, and the more they develop, the more useful they'll get. So yeah, it's up to us to figure out the best ways to employ them and bring in whatever tools we can find.
Right.
Well, I'm glad that there's so many ways to move this forward.
Yeah.
It's useful in so many different scenarios. It's really cool to be in the emerging technology side of how we're going to do a lot of science later on too, especially when it's conservation. Makes me feel really good about it. So I'm curious about the whale shark one. I want to look into that. That's not a project yet, right? Or is that that was just
I think that's not a citizen science project. I just know that they're using drones as a method for, I'm not even sure they're tracking them, they're studying them. Maybe they're using them to help find them, because I know they tag them. But yeah, we see a lot of sharks and rays in our images, and we share those with people who are studying them. But for sure, if we're flying over mangroves and such, we get incredible images of rays and baby sharks in the shark nurseries.
There's a citizen science whale shark project based on photographs that tourists take, because the constellation of markings on them is unique, like a fingerprint. So they're able to look at even a small section that a tourist has taken and say, oh, that's Sally the whale shark, or that's Jimmy, or they have numbers and names and stuff. And that's a way to track them all over the world without having to actually tag them.
Cool.
So that's active.
Yeah, so I think probably then it's a bit similar to the whale flukes, the whale tail has also a fingerprint, and you can, it's cool to see citizen science used for this kind of stuff. I know it's also been done for amphibians. There's the fire salamander here in Germany is an endangered species, and it also has markings that work like a fingerprint. And I remember years ago, there were people in our department who just had to sit for hours and hours and hours at a screen, just marking out the body of the fire salamander for the automated software to kind of match them. But these are the kind of tasks that online volunteers can really help with, and then free up the specialists to actually go out into the field and get more images and really, make the project much wider and more informative.
Well, while we're at it, why don't we switch back over to testing out the system and doing more examples. Roland and Bob, do either of you want to show it off to share screen? I just realized I'll be in the next 3 hours, I think. So I'll be.
Well, I'm not a member, even though I do love iguanas, but I haven't done this yet. Roland has.
That's part. It's all about being able to start it and get the beginner's perspective too. So I think that's actually a benefit.
Okay.
Not a bummer. Yeah. But Roland, you can also share if you'd like, if you have it open. My last image I'm looking at, it doesn't have any iguanas in it, so I'm gonna see.
Oh.
Yeah.
But I got lots of
I'm going to start with this image, which I already classified, and I couldn't find an iguana in it. I don't know if you will see one, but probably
No.
I didn't see anything
No.
not even other animals.
No, that looks like it's pretty raw lava. So Like at the moment in the data set, there are quite a few images you'll find like this that are, we call them blanks, they're empty images, and they're not maybe the most fun thing to work with, but they are very informative for us still. It's also, you found one.
There we
with
go.
iguanas.
Wow.
There we go. It can look like that.
We got a lot here, actually.
Yeah, and a green turtle there too. Yeah, this is Fernandina. It's such a beautiful island. It's like the land before time when you go there.
And this, maybe you can help us determine, because I know I read through the tutorial with everyone, but for looking for colorfulness for the adult males, do you think any of these are adult males?
Yeah, you can't say it from this image. It's possible they are, but you don't really see the coloration well. I mean, yeah, because they're sort of a bit wet as well, some of them. So I wouldn't mark them in this image. And it's mostly useful to know when there's males, because we want to see if citizen science can mark out these breeding aggregations so that we can learn a bit more about the breeding behavior. And then it's useful to know that there's like an adult breeding male with his harem or his lek around him. So in this case, this wouldn't be a place where a male would hold the territory. They're just basking here, or they're just coming back from the sea and warming up. So yeah, in this case, I wouldn't bother with marking any adult males.
Okay, you would mark everything as others?
Yeah, because I mean, yeah, it's a bit hard to say. Probably those two there in all likelihood are males, but it's a little bit hard to know with any kind of certainty. So it's a bit of a gray zone. You could go either way with those ones.
Okay.
Are they young iguanas or is the turtle just huge?
Yeah, the turtle's pretty big. Yeah, that's probably like an adult female green turtle. And they are quite large. And even though these are pretty large iguanas too, but those iguanas are probably, I don't know, 3-4 kilos, and that turtle, a lot. We had to pick one up once, and it took 4 adult men. They're big.
Thanks. I feel like I might be missing another one. This circular tail-like structure looks like an iguana, but it's so small, and it looks like it's covered in sand.
Yeah, I don't know. I would probably not mark that one because it's a bit hard to say, and for sure it does look like a curled tail, but it could also just be like a rock that's slightly covered in the water. So, again, there's gray zones and there's ones you can't be sure about, and it's the same with the experts. So we're not looking for 100%. Even the experts will not get 100%. We're just getting as close as we can.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And there's a lot of crabs I can mark, I think, right? Yeah. Crab. Crab.
Oh, wow.
Crab. Crab. And then
Wow.
goes down. I can't fully see. Oh, crab.
Wow.
Yeah, it's great to invert the image like you're doing. That often makes things more visible, or at least it gives you a different perspective on them. That's definitely a good tactic.
There's so many right here, though. I'm probably not marking them super well. Oops. Oh yeah, I'm getting good at this.
Yeah.
Are these really all crabs? That is
Crab finder.
next to each other, unless that's the algae that I'm marking. But
I mean, I don't think we're going to get exact counts on the crabs. What's useful is just to sort of know generally where they are as well, and where the big accumulations are. And again, like sometimes we don't really know what the questions are going to be that this data will be used for, because we're going to, archive all of our findings and the photos as well. And it may be 10 years from now, somebody says, wait a minute, there's no crabs in this place. Is that normal? And at least then we can go back and say, no, that's not normal. Or, maybe they'll find more. I don't know. But most of the time it's not going in that way. It's more things are disappearing than appearing.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Okay. So then in that case, do you see anything else I need to mark on here, team? I know there's more crabs probably in these little spots. I'm not sure if
I think that's fine. You don't have to worry about getting them all.
Heard it from the project leader herself.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, now I'll pause my screen share so Roland, we can go back to yours. I'm sorry. Just in case I drop off for 10 minutes here. Let's see if it loads. And then, yeah, but just to give you the FYI, so this 12-hour marathon of projects is essentially just doing as much as we can. So talking through any of these, for those of you who are listening in, let us know if you have questions about any of these, or if you have particular ones that come up that you're not sure. I've allowed talking from all of you, so you are welcome to unmute and ask questions, and learn a little bit about what we're looking at. But and we'll do examples through Rollins through the end of the hour.
And how many classifications did you make for the reporting of the acts?
How many, like just now?
Yeah, so I
think
can report accurately at the end.
Oh, well, mine it's an affiliate, so it'll go through mine. You can just do the person count.
Okay, perfect. Yeah.
Since it's an affiliate, we should be okay. If you don't have a SciStarter account and don't connect it, then you definitely have to report the act separately. Yeah. But since I'm logged in, they'll be taken care of. Yes, I think. As long as it functions correctly, but yes. And then we can report on how many people are here afterwards too.
I'm curious to go to the stats page of the project.
Sure. Whoa. Are there 5?
Yeah, that's a lot, like 1,400 in a day.
Yes, I mean, sometimes we've had, I think, up to like 8,000 in a day in particularly good times. And it makes a massive difference because, you know, if we get those kind of numbers, we could finish the project in a couple of weeks. Yeah, the problem we have is that we're such a small team that we're mostly trying just to do the work around it, and we don't have enough time to sort of promote it. But yeah, the more classifications we get, obviously, the faster we get our data. And at the end of the day, we really want to get these population size estimates so that we can start planning based on what we find.
But might those all be like crabs because there's so many crabs, like just now even, or are those just iguanas?
Those are the number of images done per day.
Oh,
So
images.
yeah, that's what the counts are.
I see.
It's sort of classification. So it's like we have our images. Let's say in this particular launch, we have almost 10,000 images, and each of those images has to be seen 20 times. And each one of those 20 times is one classification. And the number of classifications is what you're looking at in these charts here.
Oh, you need a lot more volunteers.
Yeah. I
We'll
mean,
do
at
it.
the
We'll
moment,
help.
yeah, that would be wonderful. Yeah, so any kind of promotion. So yeah, you see if you go back, like we've had good days. We had almost 10,000 almost there. Usually it goes really well when we get featured on the Zooniverse homepage, and every now and then we'll write to them and say, hey, could you feature us again? But we can't do that all the time. So sometimes we just have to hope.
On October 27, 2022.
Yeah,
wow.
that was a good day.
Is that National Iguana Appreciation Day or something?
Perhaps, yeah. Perhaps a lot of people went out and watched Godzilla versus whatever, King Kong, and they were inspired to come and count Godzillas.
Yeah, these are good Godzillas. That's so funny. The real Godzilla, the ones that...
This is
All
what
right, we'll
inspired the Japanese filmmaker, the original one. Yeah. The Godzilla marine iguana is actually not on this island that we're counting now. That was on the first set of photographs that we were counting. But you know, they're all kind of Godzillas, really.
Yeah, they all kind of look like him.
Yeah,
for sure. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Maybe you need sound.
Are user comments and talks beneficial for the project, or they're more like beneficial for the sense of community among users to help each other? Like, do they help you get a new insight into your data, or is it for the sake of the users, basically?
It's like both. It's both things, I would say. Like, I mean, for sure, it's volunteers helping volunteers, and then we will also join in as well to give opinions if somebody's unsure about something, and that helps everybody because it means what we find is more accurate. And I think it's sort of motivational to know that you're not just out there in a void, that you're really, you know, engaging in a thing that other people are doing, and they have insights to share. And I think we've had some really interesting chats about the conservation situation and how to solve some of these problems. So for us, it's been interesting too. And I think just to raise awareness and just have a space to sort of talk about those places is great. But then the volunteers also find sometimes really interesting images, like they found, I mean, we're not looking through every single image. The idea is that hopefully the volunteers can do that and thus save us having to look for every single one. So sometimes they'll find things we haven't seen in the images, like one found a land iguana, which was really cool. We didn't think we'd see land iguanas in the photos. And they found things like cats and just sea lions doing funny things quite often, just like lazing around in rock pools. And they often find really nice images. So you can see the ones that they sort of talk about and flag up. So yeah, for us, it's sometimes really cool to see what they find.
Yeah, I've seen some pretty funny pictures with the sea lions in them, or at least just really seeing the sea lions is very exciting.
Yeah. They have a good life most of the time, I think. They sort of, they're just sleeping or playing, or eating fish sometimes.
Relaxing in the tide pooly shallows. Looks very relaxing, honestly.
Yeah, they really don't seem like the most stressed creatures you've ever met. Like
Very true. Fun finds. Oh, are these the pictures? Let's see.
oh,
Sploosh.
that's great. Sploosh, yeah, that's great actually. So Pamela has been one of our most important volunteers because she's been on the project for a long time and working really hard on it, and she was ill for a while, so she's back now, and I'm kind of delighted to see her there. So yeah, like we have genuine interactions with our volunteers on this. Yeah, Pamela was she was our top counter, and she won a jigsaw for that. Yeah.
Awesome. I'm not sure which one she's looking at. About to swan
One
I
dive.
right
don't
there.
know.
Like,
Oh, I see. No, over
Um,
to the right a little bit from there.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yep, yep, there.
she's good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did not see that. Hello. Wow, that was pretty cool. Can you go back to see the other images? I wonder if there's one that's a sea lion super visible. Slytherin. Secret Square.
Oh.
Oh, wait. Secret Square, like sitting on top of the square?
Yeah, so I guess that must, sometimes you'll see photographs from urban areas. This must be, I'm trying to think where this would be, on what island. So there's a bit of information you can sometimes get from the images. But yeah, so sometimes they'll find us in the images, and they always find that funny. They like to point out the researchers, or they'll see our bags or whatever we've left around the place. Yeah, so this looks like one of the towns. There are a few towns in the images here and there.
Rabbit hole. Now we've got a Harry Potter reference, which is always fun.
Yeah.
Rabbit hole. What is that referring to? No iguanas, but this image looks really cool. Oh, just went in a rabbit hole of looking at a cool image.
Maybe. Yeah, you see some nice rope lava there. This yeah, if you enjoy lava, these photos can be quite entertaining. Yeah. And the photos can get tagged. So if you look on the right of the screen there, you can see like particular tags that people have given the images. So they've named some of the crabs, or you can see that sea lions is one that comes up often there. So if you click on those, you'll see images that were tagged with those particular attributes.
Sea lions.
So there you go. If you're a sea lion fan, this is the page for you. Yeah, they're just having a good time.
Just simply look relaxed all the time.
They really are. Yeah.
Are they endangered too? No, wait.
I think they're vulnerable. It's a I think it's a subspecies, or is it a full species? No, I think it's a full species. It's similar to the Californian sea lion. It's the same genus but a different species. I'm not sure offhand. I think they probably are at least vulnerable, because as far as I know, they're just in the Galapagos, which by their range would already make them sort of vulnerable. So yeah, they're of conservation concern. And I do believe that there's concern over their populations in particular places. So sea lion information is definitely useful to collect, and we're sharing that directly with the researchers who work on their conservation.
That's good.
And there's also fur seals, which I don't know if people are going to spot them differently from the images. So, but they're not as common. They're quite rare. Only in certain locations you find them.
Did you ever have incidents with the drones, or if it ever falls or something, can you always get it back, or depending on the location where it recorded?
Yes. So flying a drone from a moving boat above the sea is a definite, like, there's a whole set of challenges there. And these drones are not waterproof. They are just totally normal consumer level drones that you could go out and buy tomorrow for $1,000 or so. So we sort of like purposefully limited ourselves to technology that was accessible because we wanted to show that these methods could be used without having to spend like $20,000 or whatever on some kind of custom drone. But the downside of that is they're not really designed or fully equipped for how we use them. So yeah, we've had some drone losses. We usually lose one per field season. We're almost always able to actually get the drone back, which we get back because it's got like lithium and stuff in the batteries. We don't want to leave that in the sea if we can avoid it, and also to get like maybe the memory card back. But we do change the memory card every flight, so we don't lose a lot of data if we lose a drone. But yeah, we've lost a drone. Like one year we lost a drone because we were flying it from a small rubber boat and the control got wet in the boat, and when that happens, it lost contact with the drone. So the drone decided the best thing to do was land, and we had no way of telling it not to, and it just landed in the sea, and there was just like no way of stopping that. So that one we had to fish out from the ocean. So yeah, there are definite challenges. Flying around cliffs is a real challenge, and sometimes there are territorial birds that will want to attack the drone.
Wow.
And then we just have to be really careful how we fly them, because obviously we don't want to be a risk to the birds either.
Wow.
But we found generally if birds get close, and usually it's like frigate birds, they're very territorial, these quite large birds that fly around there, and we lower the drone by 5 meters or so, and then they tend to, I don't know, maybe that looks like submission to them or something, and then usually they go away. So that's our tactic for that. But so whenever we're flying the drone, we have a drone pilot and then a co-pilot, and the co-pilot's job is to always watch the drone and see if there's any birds around, and just to inform the drone pilot, because they can only really be looking at the screen and making sure the photographs are being taken correctly. And then it's the drone co-pilot's task to sort of make sure that the drone isn't getting into trouble. And it's not perfect. It's challenging. I mean, we also fly the drones from sailing boat, which has a lot of ropes and wires, and like landing a drone on a sailing boat with high seas requires a lot of skill. So we try to find really good drone pilots for our field seasons, and we've been pretty lucky so far. Yeah. So these are all things that we will, be writing about when we sort of share our protocols, like all of the lessons we've learned the hard way. Hopefully we can avoid other people having similar difficulties.
Yeah. You can share all the technical requirements, which drones seem to have problems, what software works, what interface, all that stuff.
Yeah. And like where the bottlenecks come in. I mean, it took us a couple of field seasons to really know where we needed to put our focus when it came to equipment. Like we quickly learned, actually, we need a few drones and lots of batteries, because we're sometimes we're flying all day, and you just need to have like 25 batteries because the battery only lasts half an hour or 20 minutes even. And then, we wouldn't have known that in the beginning. It was just a case of figuring all those things out bit by bit.
Yeah. Now we're nearing the end of the hour, so I'm going to share my screen one more time with, I think, the last image we'll be able to categorize during this time. For anyone who is looking into this while we're chatting, make sure that you're logged in, and then we can connect it to SciStarter or report it later. But I figured I'd check on this one just because there's a little bit of interesting things that we can hopefully help define. It looks almost like something blue that might be plastic there, and then what looks like a tail, but I can't tell if it actually is. So
Yeah.
Or it does look like one, yeah. I think that is one, yeah.
Yeah, but seeing the rest of it, it looks like its head is cut off.
Yes, so one of the problems is also the way we make these images is when we fly the drone, we take lots and lots of photographs, and then we stitch those photographs together into one big photograph. And then, so this is the mosaic, and sometimes you can get glitches where an iguana might get like digitally beheaded, as may have happened here, but that looks very much like an iguana, and I would definitely mark that if I were you. It may just be like a mosaicing artifact. And we do that method to sort of avoid double counting, because if we had the same iguana on multiple photographs, we wouldn't know if it was the same iguana or not. And also just it's an easier way to handle the images. But yeah, the downsides is you can get these annoying sort of digital artifacts that come from that.
Definitely. I don't see any, so I'm
No.
trying to see if there's any tails anywhere. The tails are the easiest to find.
Yeah, the telltale tail.
Telltale tail. That's clever. And then I think this is plastic, but I think I'm just gonna hit fragmented plastic, maybe, or actually unknown. I don't remember.
Yeah, maybe unknown. Yeah, I mean, it looks like it could be a bottle upside down, but if you're unsure, just hit unknown.
Uh-oh, my button's not working. Come on. Oh, it should not have a problem. Oh, okay. Let me hit plastic bottle and see if it works. Okay, for whatever reason, my computer does not like other unknown.
Strange.
Yeah.
Okay.
It looks like it might
fine.
be an image too, so maybe there's something else going on.
Mm-hmm.
Not sure. Okay, well, that's labeled now. I'm gonna go ahead and hit done. So for any and all of you who are participating in this, since it is an affiliate, as long as you have your profile name, your username put onto your SciStarter dashboard as yours universe username, all of your work is counted, so you're good there. And since we had this as an hour of one of our Palooza hours, I'm gonna go ahead and report our work. So reporting acts all together, and I think we had, let's go back. How many of us are there? There's 10 of us. I think there were 9 before. But since there's 10 now, I guess I'll just write 10. Okay, so go to reporting form. This is me facilitating, and therefore writing in this information. If you facilitate any type of thing, this is where you would do it. So I think we're on hour 6. Woohoo!
Wow.
12-hour Palooza.
We're halfway through.
Halfway through, yeah. Man, the
Halfway
amount of
through- halfway through the month.
I think we are getting, like, during this time there's been like updates of 1,000 at a time every time I check, so we are getting more. I don't know if it's all of us though. Not sure it's us exactly doing it. And then the project we did was iguanas from above, and so now we have all that information. I'm gonna go ahead and submit, and ta-da, all done. So for all of you who were considered for that one, you're added. And then if you did not have a SciStarter account or a Zooniverse account while you're doing this, you can still report your acts as an individual. So you would just say, go to reporting form, your email, and then how your name would be displayed. So first and last initial. And then you just describe what you did. So in this case, I'm counting iguanas. And then you would type in iguanas from above, and it should auto-populate. Iguanas from above, right there. And then let's say I did 8 photographs. So anything from 1 to 1 million, which probably not 1 million. Be reasonable with what you found. But that's how you would do that. So for everyone who's thinking iguanas are the coolest, because they are, you now know how to do this one. So yeah.
Yay.
Oh, thanks, Jill, too, for coming to this one. I'm excited for you to look at iguanas later.
This was awesome. I know. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, you should show your students this one. Are any of them on today?
Maybe. Yeah, I shared it with them and encouraged them. Yep.
Well, then I hope we see them hang around. I'll keep asking. Any of you Jill's students? Let's see what happens. Glad to have you here. And since we're at 3:59, I mean, Amy, any last words of wisdom you can give us for doing this project, or like deadlines you're looking forward to, so we can just like throw it on the socials as do it.
I mean, we're really hoping maybe to get this project wrapped up within the next month. So any help we can get is massively appreciated, because we have one more round. that we would like to put on as well. And the sooner we get it done, the closer we are to those estimates. And right now there's an El Nino going on. I was thinking maybe that might be part of the situation with your fish, by the way, Bob. I was wondering if the
wow.
El Nino might be
Yeah.
playing into that. But yeah, so there's a big focus on during the El Ninos, the marine iguanas are very endangered and the populations crash. So any kind of information we can get on what's normal for their population sizes is really, really useful to sort of understand what's going on there. And the final thing I'd like to say is that even though some of the images seem a bit frustrating because you're looking and you're not finding anything, that is still extremely helpful data for us, because what we're figuring out is where they are and where they aren't. And knowing where they are not is just as helpful, because it can really help us focus and put those sort of efforts for conservation that are really limited. It can help us send them to the right places. So even though you might not feel like you're doing much because you're not finding anything, you absolutely are helping. And all of this is very much needed and very much used. So thanks for your input. And we really hope that everyone can join us again and do some more counting on iguanas from above.
Absolutely.
Great.
Yeah. Great words of wisdom.
Thank
That's really
you.
cool. 0 is an important number, everyone.
Yeah, it doesn't feel great, but actually it's really, really useful for us. So I hope that sort of helps temper the frustration with not finding a thing. You're still doing really useful science and
Absolutely.
conservation.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are part of the solution here, everyone. Well,
For
thank
sure.
you so much, Amy. I'll let you get back to your other important. Actually, your time zone is really it's late. I'm so
It's fine.
Go to bed.
I'm so sorry I was late, but I'm glad I could make it in the end. Yeah.
sorry for the confusion about the join link, by the way. I saw your email after and I was like, oh, okay. I'm glad you found it.
Yeah, I got there in the end. Yeah.
It's late then. What time is it for you right now, Amy?
It's 10
Oh,
PM.
wow. Okay. Oh, it's super late for you, Roland. You should go to bed. You should-
Yeah, it's 11.
Oh, even worse.
Well, thank you both for being with us for so long then. Bob and I will keep it going on the US time zones. Well, I mean, when he's back on later too.
Yeah.
For a different event. But thank you both so much. And I think one of our next project leaders is back. This time, for anyone who's still on, we're talking about Ophel Wildlife Watch next, I believe.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Amy. You have a great rest of your,
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for all your
Okay.
efforts, and good luck with the rest of the Palooza.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks. Okay. Bye-bye.